We're using 3 steps, 3 compounds, and here's the table before we get started. And here's our first compound here, step 1. It's the most aggressive compound. And we're gonna get this soaked up with some mineral spirits, wet that rag up good. We're gonna get all of this almost like rubbing cream on yourself. You want a good amount of it, and you want to soak up that rag and get the stuff flowing really good. That's kind of how I am before we start scrubbing. We get a good application in there, and then we use a clean wheel, and we'll start to polish this out. And when we're done, you end up with, you'll see those wheel marks, and you'll have some dry compounds left over. But that's step 1. Now we'll clean this really good. I like to get all the compound off of step 1 before we start step 2. So we'll just take some mineral spirits and spend some time here cleaning it, like you see me doing here, because you don't want number 1 grit, hanging around on the next step. So we like to clean and get all that grit out, and that's where we are after step 1. And step 2, pretty much exactly the same as step 1. You won't really see the difference on the camera, but it's just a slightly different grit. So we're going to take the number 1 pad off the machine. I'm going to go grab my number 2, and these have all been cleaned. It's very important we start out with clean pads. There are a million different ways of doing this. This is how I do it in the shop because it moves along nice and quick, and I have a trained hand with machines, so I'm not going to burn through my lacquer. We can move along pretty good on a table like this. And so number 2 is going to look just like number 1 when you're done. It'll have a little bit more of a shine. And sometimes what we do is after step 2, rather than cleaning it with mineral spirits, we'll come along with something a little bit more like a polish. So when we're cleaning it, we're also going to get the top a little slick, and that's going to help us see how far along we've come. This is going to give us a good window into the results that we've gotten up to this far. It'll take a little while here to polish it all out. This is not a pledge. This doesn't leave much of a residue. It's just a way to get down to some shine and see and you can see all the wheel marks. So we're just going to keep buffing them. Probably we like after step 2 to really know where we are on cutting. And you can see now we're starting to get a nice shine in this table. You can see the reflection of the lamps. I'm looking for shine. I'm always looking at the reflections, how clearly I can see the structures in my building and the fluorescence. So now we're starting to get nice reflective properties, which is going to allow the colors of the table to come out, rather than looking at a table that's so gray. The light will go right through the finish, and you'll start getting better read. And then step 3 is a black compound, which is kind of nice because as you finish up this job, you won't end up with as much white residue. It doesn't matter how you get here. 2 or 3 different compounds, you can do it. Today we're using 3, so here I'm showing you. We like to use very wet rags. We're not constantly changing rags. And then after doing the same thing with the wheel, after 3, you're going to start to see now we have a really nice polished top. It's reflecting light nice. The color of the wood's a lot richer, a lot browner. You can see a little bit of the wheel marks there. We're going to get some of that out by hand as the 4th step, you'll see. But here, this is showing you where we are. So we're getting real close to a finished product. A little bit here, I'm going to show you, here's where we started. And this is where we are now. All right, so what I want to show you here is that square sample. Watch the reflection of the light. As I roll the light in and out of that sample panel, you can see the difference in the sheen. The sample has not been rubbed out. The table has been. And just to backtrack here, we used a hand polish on that last step to get this final shine together. I'm going to show you that product here. Again, there are so many different products out there, but this is the one we used, just in case you were wondering.